Hey, what's up, guys? Tukey here, back again with another episode of my Carolina Hurricanes Bunch of Jerks franchise mode. It's not really the title, it's the Carolina Hurricanes franchise mode series right here on NHL 19, and today we go through another offseason after a roller coaster of a season with a lot of success at the start and a crash and burn at the end. We look forward to setting up this team. We look ahead to setting up this team. I don't know if we're looking forward to it because there is one aspect of this offseason I'm not looking forward to. But we move forward with the goal, of course, of getting this team into as competitive of a spot as we can. Before I get to the draft, though, I do want to get to at least one of your comments. Daniel, you're not going to be happy about this. I really don't like how you've started to turn postseason series into singular videos. If you are new to the channel through either the Anaheim or Edmonton series, it might seem like this is a new thing, but this is how I've always handled postseason episodes. They have always been singular with the exception of those short-term series. Of course, the reason for that is the short-term series, that was just me taking the videos that I had recorded from Twitch, playing the game, putting them on YouTube as well so that people didn't miss out. We have always done one series per episode in the playoffs. The reason for that is if I'm like, okay, it's playoff time, and the video is a half an hour long, you're going to know that we lost. But if it's singular, we're good to go. 20-minute video, I could win that series, I could lose that series. It keeps the intrigue. Now, you could say, oh, well, what if you also did the off-season? Even then, the video might even end up being longer. It just makes sense to have it be a singular episode, and that's why we do it that way. That's why we've pretty much always done it that way. Aside from that, we're good to go. There was a little bit of extra debate, but I think as far as the rules and everything like that, we're always, we're pretty much good to go. We are set up. So as far as this is concerned, today's episode, that is, again, we are going to have to pick up a 32-year or older playmaker to go alongside Svechnikov. I don't know if it necessarily has to be alongside, but the original comment was to help Svechnikov put up more goals. So we'll see what happens there. Of course, we also have our trade rules, our draft rules, which I will bring up when it makes sense to do so. So let's get into the draft, and we will take a look at everything here. First and foremost, the draft board. This is the Lafreniere draft. Expect him to go number one, of course. Kari Ranta's there, Tristan Brodziak, who is obviously generated, Noah Gunler, and Anton Lundell, the top five. Of course, we will know that there are some decent names here at the top of this draft. The question is whether or not we're able to make a move, because, of course, we are only allowed to trade up once, and if we look at our current draft pick situation, we know we have to trade a second-round pick, and that is where it could make sense, right? We could package those picks together to get up further into the first round. I mean, hell, we could package our first-round pick with those second-round picks and maybe try to make a play for a top 10 selection. If we look at the goaltending situation, of course, we know what to expect moving forward. Brossoit is going to be here for the next 2 years. I'm unsure of what's going to happen with Nedeljkovic. He is an RFA. It's going to be interesting because Scott Darling technically has some time left, which is not ideal in the slightest. Technically, he'll have 1 year after this, and then, of course, Brossoit will be here for this upcoming season and next. But now would probably be the right time to trade Darling and just retain cap and have Nedeljkovic be our backup this season. Go with Brossoit and Nedeljkovic and still wait until Spencer Knight is good to go. So there is a decent chance here that I'm going to try to trade Darling. It's just a matter of whether or not a team would want him, essentially. Defensively, of course, our top four is locked in. I do expect to see some changes, though, to the bottom six. Of course, Calvin DeHaan, Hayden Fleury, Adam Fox, who in real life is not going to sign with the Hurricanes, but of course, that news pretty much broke recently before we started this series. But you also look at someone like Jake Bean. The third pairing is going to be different this year, but we don't have to make any changes at this moment. The good thing is all of them are signed. We know Justin Falk's extension is kicking in, but changes will have to be made. With Calvin DeHaan, I mean, he's making too much money. It would be great to move him. I wanted to stay loyal to that contract for at least a bit. At least, if not half the majority. It's tough because it was 5 years, but still. And then forward-wise, again, we know that we're going to have to pick up that playmaker. Justin Williams has an expiring deal. Tyler Toffoli, our deadline acquisition has an expiring deal, but then we have someone like Whitfield, who we drafted last year, who's going to be joining the team, and of course, we're going to have to pick somebody up as well. So we are allowed to trade up once. The only way we're allowed to do that, or the only way we're going to pull that off, is if there is a team, say, in the top 5 or top 10 who want to make a deal, as Alexis Lafreniere is indeed a New York Islander. I don't think we're going to get lucky enough to trade up here and now in the top 5. I doubt it, especially too with the value. It's not going to make a whole hell of a lot of sense, but I do think it would be worth packaging at least two second-round picks together, get back up into the first round, and have that be our 2 picks in 1 round rule. So again, that is a rule, no more than 2 picks in the same round in a draft. So 2 first-round picks rather than 2 second-round picks would work out quite well. Our first selection, our only selection right now here in this first round, is 20th overall. So we could get whoever we wanted there, trade up just before or just after. I'll see if Tampa wants to make a move. They're all right with moving the pick. It's New Jersey selection. I guess the question is, though, would they want second rounders? And they don't. And that's the one issue. Is trying to find a team. Now, not necessarily having it be like, oh, if you're Tampa, you have to be interested in these second round picks. That's not the case. I mean, we could try to make this happen. I'm just not sure if value-wise it's going to work because of their lack of interest. And of course, we also have the rule of taking one of each position and having our free pick. So if we look here, 1, we'll say that's a first rounder for 2. It's going to be tough here just to make sure. So, I mean, overall, we do have 8 picks. So we know we have to move at least 1. So a 2 for 1 would be great. Say we move Ottawa's pick and our own second rounder or Arizona's to move up into this first round. I think we'd be good. So actually, let's see if that works. So as far as that working, I don't think it will. It would not. Of course, I'm only allowed to get 1 draft pick back as well from a team, so that way I can't pick hoard. I guess the question here, though, is do I have anybody who it would make sense to give up? Of course, right now, the only players we have to stay loyal to are Jordan Staal and Kevin Falk. Kevin Falk, my God, going back to the Patriots. Justin Falk. Shout out to Patriots legend Kevin Falk. I almost wasn't going to record this episode. I've had a weird day, but that's okay. We're making this happen. Oh, Mexico. What are we going to do here? I mean, we do have somebody like Roy Waugh that they're interested in. He's on an expiring deal, but I do wonder. I mean, he's someone who might have to be on the way out. I wonder if I can just throw him into this deal and make this happen. 2 seconds for 1 first? I mean, I'm good with that if they are. And they take it. So, Nicholas Waugh, call him what you will, an RFA who wasn't going to get that much better, has been dealt to the Tampa Bay Lightning, along with 2 second-round picks for a first-round pick. So we'll have back-to-back selections coming up. And I feel okay with that. So we're allowed to trade down. No more trading up, though. So we get rid of Roy, Waugh, whatever it was, and we're looking good. Now, I do want to try and move Scott Darling as well. Just obviously, I cannot trade up. So this is going to be more so probably trying to package him with somebody who's half decent for a pick next year, more than likely. We'll see. I doubt any team has... Oh, Toronto! Toronto! You might have just saved me. Winnipeg as well has interest, huh? The funny thing is he wasn't that bad, but I do want to try and save some money here in case free agency could work out. Chicago's also looking for a backup. So here, you know what? Let's look at the Leafs. Let's see if they actually need a backup goalie. They don't. They still have Sparks. Winnipeg. Although Sparks' deal could be up. Is Sparks' deal up? It is. We don't know how good Joe Wall is. There's a chance he's already backup level. And he's still a minor league starter. He'll probably end up being a backup next year. So, I mean, if I were them, I wouldn't take that. Winnipeg, though. Hello. Winnipeg would be perfect. I guess the question is, do I even need to pair Darling with an asset, or can it just be 1 for 1? Of course, this wouldn't count as... I can't trade for a pick in this draft, technically. I mean, if I did, I'd have to move it again and then use that pick to move down. So we'll look for a pick next year. I'm going to just throw, a 4th round pick. You take Darling, we free up $2 million for this upcoming season, then his contract comes off the books, we get a 4th rounder next year. Are you good with that? Oof. Okay, maybe a 4th round pick was a little bit of wishful thinking. How about a 5th? Okay. How about a 7th? There's a chance we're not going to be able to trade him legitimately. Will a 7th round pick next year go through? So they admit that it's fair value. They don't want him. It doesn't suit our trade block. Why are you interested in the player then? Trading system in this game needs so much work. It really, really does. But that's okay. We'll see what happens. We shall see. We shall see. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Don't worry. So, if the 7th round pick isn't going to work, I'm going to have to add somebody else to this deal to make it absolute, or something else in general, just an asset to the deal. So what if I say Darling and a 6th for a 7th? Is that enough? I think it might not go through with Winnipeg here, but I got to try and overload the contract without giving up too much, obviously, to make it so one-sided, but I don't know if we're going to be able to accomplish that. I got to be honest. It's not the end of the world to be stuck with Darling for this next year, not at all. But still, it would be it'd be nice. Delia, all right. Chicago actually doesn't have a backup, so we might be able to make this work with the Blackhawks. How about a nice shiny 7th round pick next year? Your thoughts? I thought it was going to go through. So again, the value still isn't there. What if I add again a 5th round pick next year into this deal just to free up some cap space for this year? Still not enough. I don't think I'm willing to give up any more than the 5th round pick to help this go through. The $2 million would be nice. I'm just not sure how much it's needed. Edmonton, are you dumb enough to trade for Scott Darling? Do you need him? How good is Montoya at this point? I mean, yeah, you know, I think they could use a Darling for one season. Are they dumb enough? Is the question. They would have too many goalies. Damn it. Okay. So say we take back Al Montoya and we immediately ditch him. So basically you secure the fact you know who your backup goalie is going to be for next year. Granted, you have to overpay him a little bit, and we try to make this work. What do you think? Please? What if I take out the 7th? Please? Yeah, there's no way. No one wants to take Darling, at least not right now. So we're good on that front. So again, trade-wise, right now we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 draft picks. So technically trading down isn't even worth it. We just have to hope that we have people that are here where it makes sense. And again, we're only allowed to trade down once. But I think we're good. I think we're pretty good. I mean, again, giving up Roy wasn't really a big loss. We were going to have to make changes there anyway. He might have been the odd man out to begin with. I'm going to wait to see who's available in free agency in terms of getting that playmaker. So I think for now, we just go ahead and sim to our first pick of the draft. Again, we have back-to-back selections. We'll be able to do some damage here. So again, number 1, Alexis Lafreniere, Ranta, Brodziak, Noah Gunler, and Anton Lundell, the top 5. Casper Simon-Taival, star of the Nations United series right now, or Nation United. Noah Delamont, Cole Perfetti, Quentin Byfield, Marco Rossi, Jamie Drysdale, Corpacari, Connor McClellan, Morrow, Alex Holtz, Stranges, Rocher, Sillinger. That brings us to our picks here. So let's see. All right, so Lucas Raymond's available. Now, again, remember, in terms of drafting a Russian, we're not going to have any information on Russian, so that's going to suck. Lucas Raymond is here. We don't know a ton about him, aside from the fact that he's real. Dylan Peterson is also real, and we have created him, and he's looking pretty damn good. I mean, with Raymond, 15 points in 44 games, still as a teenager. Peterson did relatively well in U.S. Central. Justin Barron, I can confirm, is not medium elite, and some of those grades kind of scare me. Mark-Edward Vlasic comparison. Petr Sekac is not real, so, Dave Andreychuk comparison, huh? Again, we have to as well, in case you've forgotten. Well, we're not allowed to scroll down. We have to select players from this list right here. That's another one of the rules. Again, the draft rules, 7 picks per draft. That's it. No more than 2 picks in the same round. We have to choose from these people in line. I am allowed to sort by our scout rank as opposed to central scouting. You can only trade up and trade down once. We have to pick one of each position. But, of course, that 7th pick, I can select whoever. Technically, I could select whoever now. If I want to take 2 centers, that's fine. But that's a little bit dangerous in case there's not anybody available, and then we have to get into trading down. It's a more tactical approach to the draft that we decided on, of course, to make it more difficult. And, of course, we had to put thought into the selections that we're making. So I guess the big question here, we only have a minute left. Let me take another look at our defensive prospects. Because depending on whether or not we need anybody right now, which you could argue we're not really going to, we should be okay. We don't really have any prospects coming up, but of course our defense right now is pretty carved out. It's mainly Bean and Fox that we have, and of course we took Hartman last year. Not to mention we could trade Calvin DeHaan for a prospect, so I don't think I'm going to prioritize defense. Not to mention goal scoring was a major issue this year, so we're going to take a center and one of the right wings. So the center, either we take Dylan Peterson or we take Petr Sekac, and I think the answer is obvious here. We're going to go for Dylan Peterson, especially too with how in this game we have created players. Of course, they normally just light everything ablaze. They just score for fun. Caden Goulet is technically going to be available to me as well, but again, I don't think I'm going to take a defenseman. So with our first pick, our center selection, we are going to go with Dylan Peterson. Of course, we're not going to know how good he is. Fog of War is on. And with our second pick, all right, so these are the players available. Who do we have available to us now if we go? Game, please. Okay, thank you. Wouldn't scroll over for a second. Who are we going to go with? All right, so Duda. I think Duda was on the board anyway. So let's see. Either we have a chance to get a pretty good steal there with Lucas Raymond as the winger. Antti Alanen. Oh my God. Wasn't expecting A's like that. Jason Duda or Alexander Tulipov, who we know nothing about because he played in Russia. Hooray. I was originally going to go with Lucas Raymond, but Antti Alanen here, Alanen is looking like an absolute monster. 18 years old, 14 points in 58 games in Liga. No player comparison. Good leader. And then again, we don't have enough information about Lucas Raymond. I know he's a real player. I'm going to take Allen. We're going to take a Finn. So that is our center and our right wing pick out of the way. Of course, I'm not going to know the overalls, but that's all right. So we'll go to the second round, and we'll see who we have available here. I will scroll back through just to see where some of these players went. Of course, quite a few real players. Jack Quinn, I believe that is, ends up going to the Rangers. Foodie, the other Foodie, ends up going off the board as well. And at the end of the first round, Raymond went to Washington, Barron, Sekac, Clevin, Duda, Tulipov, Goulet, Hedman, Gushchin, Lawrence, and Dunoyer. Anyway, let's see who we have available this time out, shall we? Shall we? It's either this left wing pick or we take a defenseman. It's what it comes down to. Or we use up a free pick, which we're not going to do. So it is either down to Larry Kerslake, who, I mean, we don't know just how good he is, but could be promising. Ryan O'Rourke, not entirely sure. How about Jeremy Biaka Batuka. Jesus Christ. And Biaka Batuka scores the Stanley Cup winning goal. Double L, Leighton Moore. Why would your parents do that to you? And Jeremy Poirier. I mean, Kerslake might be the best option here. It's kind of tough to tell. Oh, boy. Now, technically, Pritchett doesn't even count. And there's also the Denmark defenseman, Derek Nichols. I think I'm just going to take the winger here and hope that good old Larry Kerslake is that good. I can't imagine it's Larry Kerslake. It might be. That'd be weird. Larry, congratulations. Welcome aboard. You are the second round selection. Now we're going to focus on defense and a goaltender. And our free pick, of course. So here in the third round, I guess it's going to be a defenseman. I think that's a fair assumption. Unless we were to go for Mr. Bedoin. I know it's not Bedoin. I don't care. Kyle McDonald. Gerard Keane. Igor Chibrikov. Yeah. Michael Bianconi. Marcus Gretz. And Nicholas Carlson. Low elite. Don't quite know how good he is. He is ranked number 69 by our scouts. That's very nice. Nicholas Carlson. Congratulations. You're my first defense pick. Welcome aboard. We don't know how good you are. We move on to the fourth round. And if those are anything to go off of, there might be some talent here, but let's be honest, those two players are probably terrible. So we're looking for another defenseman or a goaltender, and right now I'm getting kind of worried about a potential goaltender pick. Getting just a little bit worried. There is a French center in Mason Getzlaff, who, I mean, we're going to take a defenseman here just to be safe. And it's going to be either Grabeshkov or Korolyuk, so we're going to take someone who played in Russia without knowing a damn thing about them. All I know is Korolyuk played 29 games as a 19-year-old. So, Alexei Korolyuk, welcome aboard. And we're going to look for a goaltender. Of course, we don't have a 7th round pick, so we're going to be looking for a goaltender or our free pick here. And if there is a goalie, that's who we're going to go for. Yeah, we're going to play it. So, God, though. Now, technically, I could trade down if we don't have a goalie available in the 6th round, and we could just make a pick in the 7th. And we have to. Hudson Sylvester is going to be my free pick. Now, he's 19 and has a long way to go. Oh, God. He's 19 and really far way off from ever making it. Or we go for the goaltender and hope that there's somebody else available later on. Do we take Sylvester or do we take the goaltender? It's a low elite, man. You can't doubt it. It's the best potential in the game this year. I mean, outside of obviously like medium elite. Hudson Sylvester is going to be our free pick for this year. And we go to our final pick. There needs to be a goalie or we're going to trade down. And there is a goalie. It is the German, Theodor Fritzmeier, who played in Sweden this past season. Fritzmeier is going to be the pick unless Central Scouting has a different goalie on the board. They do not. So there we go. We are done in this draft. Theodor Fritzmeier. He did not play a single game this past year, but we will take it. And there we go. 7 draft picks. 1 of each position, 2 defensemen, obviously, to simulate left and right defense, the goaltender, and then our 1 free pick. The rules have been followed. We traded up. We did not trade down. And I feel like, of course, the one trade that we made was relatively fair in what we did in terms of the moves that we made. So we will go to player morale, where people are, of course, going to complain about me trading Roy. And I was trying to avoid going demanding because someone pointed out in the comments, like, oh, always go demanding. It relatively works out. That comment also mentioned that it's kind of cheap, right? So I normally just answer it how I would answer it because who cares? If I just sit there and hit demanding every time, then what is the point of even having it on, right? So as far as trading away Roy, I mean, actually, in fairness, the demanding response is exactly what I would pick this time. So it worked out well. But we are good. We move on to the re-sign phase, where again the question is whether or not we bring back Williams or Tyler Toffoli, and I genuinely don't think we can. I do want to take a look at who else is available in this upcoming free. Oh my God. Yeah, we need to have money available to maybe make a play for somebody there. Especially on the offensive side of things. Hell, we talked about it. Nicholas Backstrom could be the guy that we look to bring in, as outrageous as that would be. So again, we take a look at the goaltending situation. I wasn't able to trade Darling. If I were to buy him out at this point, it's not worth it. I don't think that's worth it. 1.3 million for this year and next, as opposed to if I can trade him. But if I don't get rid of him, we're going to lose Nedeljkovic. Bottom line, if I don't get rid of him, we're losing Nedeljkovic. And Callum Booth should be just about good to go. Not to mention, I mean, we have three goaltenders, not to mention Ian Scott. Holy goaltending depth, Batman. My God. Okay. How are we going to pull this off? We tried to trade Darling. Didn't really work out. I think Booth has to be dropped. More than likely. He was a 4th-round pick of the Canes. I think he has to go. It's just a debate over whether or not Nedeljkovic is worth keeping. But, I mean, right now, so it's like we have Scott. Helvig's here for 1 more year, so he's our 5th goaltender. So we have Scott, who will for sure be in the AHL. We would assume, and we know Brossoit's up there, so I need 2 goalies out of this group between Darling and Makiniemi. 1 NHL backup, which means Darling and Nedeljkovic, and then 1 of these 3. Woof. That's rough. Dog puns. The only way we keep Nedeljkovic... Okay. The problem is I can only buy out Darling right now. So the thought of qualifying Nedeljkovic and then maybe trade him makes sense. If a team would accept trading for someone who doesn't have a contract, even if I get a 7th. The problem is he's not going to make enough money as to where an offer sheet is going to make sense. The other issue is in the Finnish series, he went up by about 8 overall points from where he is right now, and I really don't want to lose that. Or I can pay Darling $1.3 million for the next 2 years to not play for the team. And technically save a little bit of money. Scotty, you're gone. We are going to buy out Scott Darling. He has 1 year left. We'll save money for this season. For the season after, it will kind of suck. But I'm going to buy out Scott Darling. And we're going to roll with Alex Nedeljkovic being our backup goaltender. Now, thankfully, he is not eligible based off of how much money he is making for a no trade or a no move. 2.5 is what we limited, and of course it's for UFA players only. So he's technically an RFA, so we don't have to worry about it. He's asking for a little bit more than I would have preferred. I mean, technically we could commit to a Nedeljkovic-Brossoit tandem until Spencer Knight's ready over the next 2 years. So you know what? I actually think I'll do it. Although he does want to re-sign. So I'm well within my rights to drop it a little bit. We'll go down to 1.3 just to save us, just save ourselves a little bit. And we're committing to a Brossoit-Nedeljkovic tandem for the next 2 years until Spencer Knight's ready. And now between these 3, I mean, I'd like to think within 2 years Makiniemi can make it up to a 76. I'd like to think. I mean, otherwise I risk wasting a buyout on Jeremy Helvig just to get rid of him. But if I do that, then Ian Scott sits there and does nothing. And we have to sign Spencer Knight next year. So obviously, next offseason, right? We know what the goaltending situation will be. We'll have Brossoit Nedeljkovic. Spencer Knight will be signed. Ian Scott will be signed, and whoever we sign here. So Helvig will be gone next year. Knight will take his spot on the roster. I'm gonna go with Makiniemi, mainly because I think he has the best opportunity to not push Nedeljkovic to take over the backup role. So we will sign Makiniemi to his ELC. The goaltending this year: Brossoit, Nedeljkovic, Makiniemi, Scott, and Helvig as the 5th goaltender. The depth. Defensively, it's still Hamilton and Falk, Slavin, Pesce, Fleury, and DeHaan. And then obviously we know we're going to have to make moves. Jake Bean is ready. Adam Fox will probably be ready by the end of the offseason. I'm going to drop Carrick and Graves for now. We'll sign other depth options later, so that'll affect morale, but that is what it is. Let's see. Shelgren, I guess it would be. Jesper Shelgren. 6th-round pick. We're not going to be signing him. And there's really nobody else I want to bring in. So Hartman's low elite. Marty Hartman was our 3rd-round pick last year. And Zach Redmond, who we randomly signed at the start of the year, he'll be dropped. So the defense right now, there's really no big move we can make. Our top 4 is locked in. And in terms of signing somebody just to trade somebody else already on roster, don't think that's going to fly, really. So I think our defense is what it is. But we do know between Fleury, DeHaan, Bean, and Fox, 2 of them are probably going to have to go. Forward-wise, we know that it will be Aho, Teravainen, Niederreiter, Svechnikov, Necas, I guess. Well, Necas, I suppose, might go up to a top 6 role. Williams is technically down to a 3rd line. Toffoli's down to a 3rd line. But again, I think we have to let both of them go for now. I think we're stuck in that way. Both of them have to go for now. Might bring them back. But again, if you look at this team right now, so that's 4 members of the top 6. 3rd line, 3rd line, 3rd line. Martinook down to the 4th line. Cotton's a minor league checking forward. I mean, technically, then we might be able to keep something. I just don't know what kind of development we're going to see from these guys. But both of them being 3rd line is interesting. However, I don't know if it's sustainable. At least one of them has to go. At least one of them has to go. And I think it would make... It's just really tough because say Nate just doesn't develop, right? Gauthier, Neka, or Natchez. I'm always going to call him Nakash. It's just the way I heard it pronounced the first time. Stahl. But then what big free agents lie beyond? Because Justin Williams, I mean, he only wants 2.4, which isn't bad. Put up 42 points last year. And then Toffoli, of course, we got at the deadline. He was a 47-point guy. It's just I'm having to think of who is out there on the free agent list and what kind of development we might see. So again, we know they're going to be top 6. And just our top 9 in general would be them right there. That group, Gauthier and up. Martinook on the 4th line. Potentially Cotton, Sorella, Bishop on the 4th. I mean, we could make it work, but the issue is we need to bring in a playmaker. So at least one of them has to go. And the problem is they both want to sign. What's Tyler Toffoli looking for? No, I'm not giving him that term. Tyler Toffoli is going to be gone. I think we are going to bring back our captain, Justin Williams. So again, that'd be 3, 4, 5, or 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so that would be our 9 right there. So technically we have room on the 3rd line. I could sign Whitfield if I wanted to. And then what other development might we see? Especially for who's out there. Oh, Justin Williams. This is a really tough call, actually. So again, we have our 6, 7, 8, and 9. I'm just surprised Martinook went down to the 4th line. It's actually really good news for us. Gives us a few more options. I just can't help but think who else is out there. We have one spot right now in the top 9 as it stands if we don't sign Whitfield this year. So I think we hold off on signing him. We do bring back Justin Williams, and we look for a top 9, 32-plus-year-old playmaker. Because as it is, we're only allowed one big free agent signing anyway at forward. And then, of course, we're allowed to fill out the roster later. So, yeah, Justin Williams is going to be coming back. We'll drop it by a little bit just to see if he's willing to accept. And then, unfortunately, that big free agent signing, I kind of have to hope that Nick Backstrom is there. He's the guy that could really help out this team. Alexi Sorella, I think we'll try to bring back again. He is not eligible for a no-trade clause, nor is Williams, actually, with the amount that he's going to be signed for. Sorella wants 2 years at $900, two-way deal, though. I'll give him that. I might regret that extra year, but I'll give him that. Maenalainen had a great year in the AHL, so I think I'm going to bring him back as well. If I'm not mistaken, he did. Yeah, he did. I was gonna say, I think we were using him in the Finnish series as well. 1 year deal. I'm actually gonna pay him a little bit more. Jordan Schrader will be dropped. Mangiapane will be dropped. Of course, they were just signed to bring in some extra players. Spencer Smallman, unfortunately, will be dropped as well. Jack Drury will be signed to his ELC. Steven Lorentz is going to be dropped. I'll sign Luke Henman. I think it's Luke Henman. We'll sign him as well. Let me check. Hey, it was. Look at that. Nikitin won't be signed. Nobody else there is going to be signed. So I think we have our game plan here, shockingly, as we look to head into this offseason, or, into this free agency period. So Williams signed. Nedeljkovic rejected, which sucks. Mainainen, Sarela, Drury, Henman, Makiniemi. Okay, so only one guy rejected, but we're looking good aside from that. Again, free agency, we're allowed 1 forward, 1 defenseman, 1 goalie, either a top-notch talent or a top-notch prospect, and then we have to fill out the rest of the team later on. So all expiring. It's just Nedeljkovic that needs to be signed. He didn't want to take that slight pay cut, so I'll pay him a little bit more. Right now we're shaping up to have over $13 million in cap space, which is tremendous. Nedeljkovic signs for the next 2 years. Shockingly, by the way, there was nothing about scouts having expiring deals. Of course, I am going to have to remember to change up the scouting department. We'll be allowed to scout out Russia heading into next year. So we are good to move into free agency. The big story, letting go of Tyler Toffoli is not shocking, but buying out Darling to make sure that we can hold on to Nedeljkovic, whether or not that was the right choice, time will tell. But at least we have a plan. We have a path with our goaltending. Yes. Oh God, he wants 7 years though. Oh no, he wants 7 years. Jesus. Don't tell me that's true. I can't get him. There's no way. The only way that would make sense is if I were to get lucky on the wheel and not have to commit to that, because that contract could end up being absolutely horrific. Oh my God. Oh my God. He's an RFA though, as is Matt Murray. Holtby is out there though. Okay, thankfully there isn't a goaltender I'd really want to sign. And in terms of potentials, there's really no good way to know, actually, who's half decent, except judging by the amount someone wants to get paid once we're talking about league minimum. Really, Husso is there, Pickard. So league min, I think, was still $925, wasn't it? Or was it $975? Regardless, it doesn't really matter. So, the likes of Adam Hushka here, I believe it is, Hayden Hockey, could be half decent. We know how good LaFontaine is. It's up to a 75. It's a shame we had to let him go. As far as I know, there's not a top-notch goalie prospect there. And if there is, well then, shit. That's really all I can say. There's no real way for us to know for sure, especially with computer-generated goalies. So that's the one advantage that the AI will have on me here. Skarik, I know, is real. Imond is also real. I'm looking at the differences in money. Ingham is real. Yeah, there's really no way for us to tell who is computer-generated. David Tendek is real. I'm surprised he actually got dropped. So yeah, in terms of goaltending, I think we're pretty much set as it is. We have our 5, so there won't be any big-time goalie signings here, because there's really nothing we can do on that front. Defensively, it would be more about looking for a prospect than anything. Obviously, Jared Spurgeon. I know it's Spurgeon. Don Cherry. Eric Gustafsson, the Gustafsson. Oh boy. And again, in terms of sorting by potential, it doesn't work that way for us anymore. Dylan McElrath is there. The joys of Fog of War. Is there someone who we believe is a top-notch prospect signing amongst defensemen? That would be our main target here. Chase Prisky, I believe that is. Holtz, Shea, Bryson, Fitzgerald. Is that J.D. Greenway? It is. All familiar names, but in terms of I know for sure what that potential is, I don't. Because obviously we edit a lot. Crotty, Sandivani, Cockensalo, Jennings decent, isn't he? Emberson, Ryan Jones. I might have to start going off of point totals from the previous years. Is that Alex Romanoff? Montreal didn't sign him. Wyatt Wiley's also there. Barton, Xavier Bernard, Kevin Ball. Okay, so see, now, how far down does it go? Okay, so it stops at Ragnarsson, who was a third-round pick. Alphonse Malmstrom, Kronholm was a Sabres pick. Alex Regula, Kevin Ball. And the other big name that stuck out to me was Romanoff. I'm going to aim for Romanoff here. And we'll hope that he's actually that good. I'm not sure how good he is right now, to be honest. I don't remember. But he'll be our big signing there. And then forward-wise, I'm not sure of a potential rule break of not going for a playmaker. But, you know, otherwise I'm in trouble in that regard, and we might have to rely on a trade. The issue here as well, of course, is I don't really know who a playmaker is. I mean, I can only make assumptions. I would have to probably go off of... Well, actually, in fairness, with player search, I can actually double check. So I can kind of cheat the system a little bit here, which is nice, and that is exactly what I'm going to do, because damn it, I need to take any advantage I possibly can. So we're going to go over here. We are going to go player type, and we are going to go to 32 years old, and we'll see who's available to us here. So obviously Backstrom. Other than that, it's a little bit rough. And again, Backstrom wants 7 years. We didn't exactly say, like, hey, commit to how much they want, but that's kind of how I'm playing it. If we don't go for Backstrom, again, the thought was out there of trying to reacquire Eric Stahl and to bring him back. And I think that would be my preferred option out of all the others. But, of course, there would be someone like, really, I'd aim for a Joe Thornton over a Beagle, Spezza, Pominville. Letestu's also a free agent. What would the price be of one Eric Stahl? I suppose that's the question. It's either I commit to paying Nick Backstrom until the end of time, and I have to hope that he retires a tad bit early, or that we don't get stuck with a brutal no trade, or in his defense would be a no movement with that, timing, and that it doesn't last for that long, or I trade for Eric Stahl, which, 1 year left. That's a tough one. Well, let me go see what Backstrom wants again, and we'll take it from there. But, yeah, very rough. 8.1, which would absolutely put him into no movement category, making more than $5.25 million. So, of course, he'd get a no movement clause, which means he couldn't be traded or couldn't be sent down, and we'd also have to spin the wheel to see how long we would have to stay committed to that. So, obviously, coming off of a pretty good season, it's just, how good do I think we are? He's asking for max, man, and I'd have to bump that up even more. To go for Nick Backstrom or trade for Eric Stahl. The problem is I don't know how valuable Eric Stahl is right now, thanks to, again, the fog of war. And if we take a look at our assets, there's nobody I really want to give up outside of moving a defenseman, which, again, moving someone like Calvin DeHaan would be nice. So I guess the question is whether or not Minnesota is in the market to pick up a defenseman. And the answer is yes. Shockingly, they could use another defenseman. So if I can use Calvin DeHaan here, now they're not exactly in the market in terms of, hey, they want to get rid of some people. But if I could move Calvin DeHaan, because we know we're going to have to move some defensemen anyway, but if I can move Calvin DeHaan to Minnesota, they technically need a defenseman. I pick up Eric Stahl, who they want to trade. That might be a cheaper option, and then that would leave me also the option to sign a different forward, aside from Backstrom and not having to commit to that type of contract. We could look for a better prospect instead. So I just wonder, if this were to go through 1-for-1, I'd be fine with that. We'd get rid of DeHaan, and we'd bring in the player that we have to bring in due to Svechnikov not hitting 30 goals last year. I am going to add a fourth just to safety net it. Yeah, okay, I figured we weren't that close. What if I take that out now? How close are we? Okay. So, I think I'd rather handle it this way and try to get back a better prospect. What about DeHaan and a third for Eric Staal? No. See, this is the problem, man. We don't know what their exact trade value is. Or we don't know what Eric Stahl's exact trade value is, so that's a little bit of a problem. But say, for example, I wanted to give up like a Yanni Kuokkanen. Or, I mean, David Cotton could fill the role. Technically, they'd end up bringing in another forward. Zimmer as well had a half-decent season last year. And then Martinook. They're interested in Sorella and okay, so say I were to use Sorella. So you get a forward to replace Stahl with. You also pick up a defenseman that you need, even if you don't want him. And then I throw in a draft pick. I'm at least, thinking about what they could possibly need. Now, Sorella is a depth forward as well. And if we take a look at their forward core, as again, it's part of the rules, man. I have to make sure I'm not like ripping them off and just dumping them garbage. If we take a look at what they have right now, that is 9, 10, 11, 12. And technically they don't have a depth forward. So this could work. DeHaan, Sorella, and a third for Eric Staal. Still no. How much value does he have? Jesus. Is a second enough? Would I rather potentially get stuck with Nick Backstrom or give up a second-round pick for Eric Staal? Probably for 1 year. I need to double-check who else is on the market in terms of a big-name prospect. I mean, that's the only thing that's going to decide it. You might as well consider it like one massive trade. Now, Pierre-Luc Dubois is not going to happen. He's an RFA. And I'm not going to do... Well, it is Pierre-Luc Dubois. That would be a lot, though, right? That'd be quite a bit. First, second, and a third. You should. To be honest, that's worth it. That is absolutely worth it. And you could make the argument here of whether or not, hell, it would have been worth it to go for Vasilevsky. How much is it for Vasi? Ooh, 2 firsts, a second, and a third. Still probably worth it, though. I mean, technically, I went for the goalie prospect, but we don't even know how good that goaltending prospect is. But again, we have Spencer Knight, so we don't need him. Dubois is there. Kreider is there. The issue is I'm allowed to only sign one player, right? And if I go for Dubois, I would then have to use picks next year to try and get Stahl, and he would be that acquisition. So it's either trade for Stahl, sign Dubois, or just sign Backstrom. I think that would be the way to do it. Because unfortunately, nobody else here is an ideal signing. And if we take a look at the 925s, oh my God, that just changed the entire situation. Trade for Stahl, also sign Kirill Kaprizov, who we know scores a lot of goals in franchise mode. All the time, in fact. Rasmus Kupari. Wow, the Kings didn't sign a first-round pick, so I'm going to guess he's medium top 6 potential. Jesus Christ. I think I'd still rather sign Kaprizov, that is. Duhaime, Novak, Lashinsky, Riley Tufte, man, a lot of Kayumov, Will Lockwood, Jack Bedini, Altai Baramakian. A lot of decent forward prospects ended up on the free agent list, but that's again because the AI is just terrible at managing assets. Sampo Ranta's there. Okay, I think we have our main two. The other Ryan O'Reilly. I think we have our main game plan here. Nikita Gusev is also available. I don't know if he'd be considered a big signing. Technically, he would be a depth signing with him being a two-way. I did say I'd fill out the roster later, towards the start of the preseason. So it's either we sign... Oh, God. Okay. Trade for Stahl, sign Kaprizov. trade for Stahl, sign Dubois, trade for Stahl, or just sign Backstrom. So it's either Backstrom, or we trade for Stahl, sign Dubois, trade for Stahl, sign Kaprizov. But a first, second, and a third for Pierre-Luc Dubois is a steal in terms of what he's capable of. Absolute steal. But then obviously, sign Nick Backstrom. Don't have to worry about giving up picks. It's just what the, oh boy, the effects of signing a 32-year-old to a 7-year deal. But he would be a true top liner for us. Also the effects of signing Dubois and then having to make sure we end up with enough draft picks heading into next year. I think I don't want to trade for Stahl. So Kaprizov's out. It's either Dubois or Backstrom, I think. Although Kaprizov, again, would be a way to retain draft picks. It's either Kaprizov and Stahl, Kaprizov, or Dubois and Stahl, and Backstrom. It's just what is the right move to make here. Backstrom is the only way that we save picks. And at the end of the day, it's still Nick Backstrom towards the end of his prime. 7-year deal. How quickly is he going to fall off? Last year, he did so well. But there's no doubt, say a Svechnikov, Aho, Backstrom top line. Good Lord. And then Teravainen, tearing it up on the second line. I kind of want to save the draft picks, We're going in for Nick Backstrom. I'm not going to offer him that much more than what he wants, but we're going in for Nick Backstrom, and we'll see what happens. The Eric Stahl option's still there. If Backstrom rejects, we go after Dubois if he's still there. We do get an offer for Vlasic. No, thank you. If Backstrom rejects, we go for Dubois. If Dubois is not there, we go for Kaprizov, and we trade for Eric Stahl. Alexander Romanov has signed. He will be our defensive signing. Nicholas Backstrom has signed in Carolina. He is our big free agent signing. He is the result of Svechnikov not scoring 30 goals last year. And because of how much money he is making, that is going to require a wheel spin for a no-movement clause, which again means he cannot be traded and cannot be sent down. The question is, how long is it going to be for? And that is where we turn to the wheel. So as far as the options, if it lands on 0, he does not, by some miracle, have a no-movement clause. If it lands on a 1, it's for 1 of the 2 years. If it lands on the 7, the deal lasts for the entirety of his contract, except, of course, we could ask him to waive it in the last year if he's somehow still here in the last year of his contract and we're not in the playoffs. Let's do this. How long is Nicholas Backstrom going to be here for minimum? That is the question. Please. Woo! Thank God. 2-year. Not even 2-year. A 1-year. No movement clause. Is that realistic? No, but who cares? Nicholas Backstrom, beyond this first season, we can do with whatever we want. So it is a no movement clause, so of course he's not going to be traded, he's not going to be sent down, but it is for 1 year after that. We are good to do whatever the hell we want. I'll leave it up to you, because that type of deal would probably never happen. Are we cool with that? Or should I say now have to, be like, oh, okay, after the 1 year of a no movement clause, spin the wheel again 0 to 6 to see if it transitions into a no trade? I would be okay with that. I think that would make a little bit more sense, is to have it be done that way. If it ends up being like a low end, maybe it's a double jeopardy kind of thing and we have to spin the wheel again. But right now, as it stands, we signed Nick Backstrom to complete the goal, or to, finish our task for failing the goal last year, on top of, signing a big name free agent. 7 years at 32 years old is a risky risky deal, but at the very least, we are not committed to having to keep him on this team for the duration of the contract. He can be moved after this first season. As it stands, I'll wait to hear your opinion on that front. I do not want to trade for Mark Giordano. We're still not done in this episode, of course. We are going to have to set up this roster 100% and leave the option open for you guys. This is the video, of course. We're in the comments section. You will be proposing what the goals or what the goal or goals for the season happens to be. Of course, last year we were only supposed to have one goal. I ended up choosing two different ones because they were both good and what I felt, was manageable. That, of course, proved to only be half correct. But we'll see what happens heading into this season. I'm going to stop the sim after denying a trade for Andrei Sekera because it's the 17th. And in fairness, actually, we have 40 players on the roster, so we should be fine just to sim to the start of the preseason, and then we take a look at the roster and fill it out with AHL signings if we need to. It would have been nice to bring back Eric Stahl. Would have been nice to get Pierre-Luc Dubois, but I'm all right with this Backstrom signing because right now the argument is we might not be good to go. Like, our defense is good to go. We don't have a Victor Hedman type, but our defense is good to go. Our goaltending isn't exactly good to go on paper. However, you saw what Brossoit did last year, and the forward core was already good, and the addition of Backstrom puts them over the top, really. So I am very intrigued. Like I said, that top line of Aho, Backstrom, Svechnikov, that just became a reality, as crazy as that is. So let's take a look at the roster, and we'll see what we're working with. Player progression is going to be a big, big factor, and the problem is we don't even know how good everybody is. Did Brossoit jump? Please tell me Brossoit did the bullshit, jumped up to an 86. He's listed as an elite. I guarantee Laurent Brossoit just jumped. Nedeljkovic is the backup. Makaniemi, Scott, and Helvig in the AHL. Oh my god, if Laurent Brossoit just jumped, and I guarantee he did, to an 86, 87, maybe even an 88, maybe we are ready after all, and we didn't have to give up any draft picks to do it. The defense is nearly, oh my god, Jake Bean. That's not good. Jake Bean's better than expected. Which means third pairing this year will probably be Fleury and Fox. Calvin DeHaan's gone. And then between Hamilton, Falk, Slavin, and Pesce, one of them has to go. It can't be Justin Falk. He stays. So between Dougie Hamilton, Slavin, and Pesce, somebody's got to go. Slavin, 5.3 for 5 years, $4 million for 4 years, and then Dougie's on an expiring deal. That just drastically changed the outlook for the season. Slavin put up 24 points last year. Pesce only put up 12. Pesce's 25. Slavin's 26. Lefty and a righty. So say we have... Please tell me Jake Bean's a lefty. Yes. So I think Pesce. I think Pesce's going to go. And we'll have Hamilton, Falk, Slavin, and Bean. The third pair will be Fleury and Fox. And then, of course, we're going to have to sign some depth defensemen. And then forward-wise, it's going to be Backstrom, Aho, and probably Svechnikov. Second pairing is already set. Teravainen, Niederreiter, and Natchez, which is amazing. Third line's already set as well with Stahl, Williams, and Gauthier. And the fourth line is nearly set. Martinuk, Cotton, and Sorella. It's actually going to be Luot-Sterainen. So that's perfect. The forward core is set. We just have to move some defensemen. And I guess the topic of conversation, could be like, oh, well, do we also pair them with a forward to bring in an even better forward? That could be done. Hell, we could technically try to add like a Dougie Hamilton to this deal to bring in an uber defenseman, so to speak. So right now, we're looking good. We just don't know what the actual overall of some of these players happen to be. But if we go best lines, again, I think it's going to be, Aho, a winger in a previous life. I think we go Aho, Backstrom, Svechnikov. Now, of course, the debate is, I'm allowed to move players to wherever. So that's fine. In terms of drafting, I have to, if they're listed as a center, I can't be like, but I'm going to play him as a right wing. If he's a center, I got to draft him that way. But we're looking good. So as far as the center, I think we go... It's going to depend on who has better face-offs between Teravainen and Necas. I think it's going to be Necas. So Niederreiter, Necas, and Teravainen. And then again, third line is going to be Gauthier playing between two very experienced players, although Stahl will probably be center. But Gauthier, Stahl, Williams, and then Cotton, Martinook, and I think... Actually, we'll have David Cotton be the healthy scratch. Technically, of course, I'll be allowed to send him down, so maybe we'll sign a random veteran to sit there so that he at least gets playtime. But Luotz-Derainen is going to be in. And you know what? We might go with him on the left, Sorella and Martinook, which looks great for the most part. I mean, Martinook going down to fourth line is huge. And then right there, Slavin, Hamilton, Bean, Falk, Fleury, and Fox. And then apparently, elite Laurent Brossois. Tell me that doesn't look like a half-decent team. Tell me that doesn't look like, without knowing the full overalls as well, tell me that that doesn't look like a team that if you come up against them in the playoffs, you go, oh God, we're going to lose to this team, aren't we? It has, it has that type of feeling to it, doesn't it? Not to mention, again, there is still potential to make changes. We're listed as a contender. We know that we have to trade at least 2 defensemen. I guess, again, the question is just whether or not I want to try to trade a forward. Again, Backstrom, Aho, Teravainen, Svechnikov, Niederreiter, Necas. The only move I could really make is pairing a Niederreiter with those defensemen to try and bring in a top-notch forward. It's really all I can do. And the only way we're getting a top-notch player is if there's somebody who's really good on the block, right? So let's take a look, because otherwise those top-end players are going to be too difficult to get. Cam Fowler, I mean, no thank you for the amount of money. Hello. Oliver Ekman-Larsson making $8.2 for 7 years, but you want to talk about a top-notch defenseman, that could work. Kreider went to Buffalo, and they already want to trade him. You have TJ Brody, who not really what we're looking for. Jonathan Taves is on the block. Colorado not moving any big-time players right now. There are some good players in that midst, for sure, but still, Dubois never signed. Pierre-Luc Dubois never signed. Now, we did have the rule of one big free agent signing at the beginning of the offseason, and then we can fill out the roster, but are we allowed to sign Pierre-Luc Dubois? Because if we are, he's still there. I wouldn't do the, 1-year trick. I would sign him to a legitimate contract, but Columbus cannot sign Pierre-Luc Dubois. And I think, I don't know, maybe it's just me wanting to cheat the system talking, but I think that would be a fair deal. I really wish Yandel didn't have 3 years left, and I really wish Mike Hoffman didn't have 4 years left. If Mike Hoffman had like 2 years left on his deal, I think we'd go for him. Scored 30 goals last year, but 4 years left is a little bit rough. But would he be an upgrade on Niederreiter, is the question. Suter's also there. Myers ended up going. Do we have anybody else? Victor Arvidsson? I think I'd rather go for Hoffman than Arvidsson, to be honest. And then someone like Oliver Ekman-Larsson. There's moves to be made here, for sure. It's going to end up being a really long episode, but that's okay. Let's see. We got Pietrangelo as well. And Pietrangelo makes less than OEL. $2 million less. He's not going to put up the amount of points, but in terms of a shutdown guy, Alex Pietrangelo in St. Louis. And Rasmus Sandin. Vancouver has Oshie and Eberle. They want to trade him already. Vegas with nobody. Washington with nobody we would really want. That's where Toffoli went. And then Marco Dano in Winnipeg. I guess the question is here, I don't know if I could even swing a deal for Pietrangelo. I think that might be a bit too much. However, if I am allowed to sign Pierre-Luc Dubois, and the top 6 becomes Backstrom, Aho, Dubois, Teravainen, Svechnikov, Necas, because I move Niederreiter, that could work. That could work out really well. Of course, the one question would be, how close is Svechnikov to becoming a top-line guy? And the answer is probably very. So that's the one downside to a potential Dubois signing, is that I think Svechnikov would force our hand, but we're not committed to Backstrom. And with us not being committed to Backstrom, we have a lot of options. So I'm actually going to stop it here because I want to know your opinion as to whether or not we're allowed to sign Pierre-Luc Dubois. I guess first and foremost, the question is, with Backstrom, are we just cool with it being a 1-year no-movement clause? Technically, that's what the wheel spun, so I won't deal him immediately, but I am going to be allowed to deal him. It's the one time I've gotten kind of lucky between this series and the Finnish series in terms of spinning a wheel for loyalty. But worst comes to worst, Svechnikov steps up, we trade Backstrom, and roll with Svechnikov, Aho, Dubois for the next couple of years. And then Teravainen, Niederreiter, and Natchez on the second line. I mean, the forwards are already looking pretty good. We don't technically have to change anything there, it's just that Dubois is still there. Of course, defensively, we have to make a change. We know Pesce's going, we know Calvin DeHaan's going. So it's just a matter of for who. And of course, if we do sign Dubois, rather than using Pesce and DeHaan, maybe even packaging them with like a Slavin to try and get an amazing defenseman like Pietrangelo, we would then use these two to recoup draft picks. So what happens here really is solely dependent on your opinion of what we do with Backstrom and whether or not we're good with that rule. And it really does depend on the decision as far as what happens with Pierre-Luc Dubois, who, again, obviously we all know if I wanted to cheat the system, easily do that, and sign him for a first, second, and a third, I would still sign him for what he wants, more than likely, which would be still a first, second, and a third. And, of course, Columbus can't match it. So I'm going to leave that up to you. Technically, we signed one big forward this offseason, but it's no longer the offseason, and if we don't do something, he's not going to get signed by Columbus. So it's up to us. It's up to you whether or not we want to save Pierre-Luc Dubois. I want your opinion. So let me know in the comments section. Are we cool with the Backstrom ruling? Or should there be a second spin to decide if a no-trade clause, which happens sometimes, right? With contracts, it can be, okay, 2 years of a no-movement clause, and then you get 2 years of a no-trade clause, right? It diminishes. So technically, we could do that second spin. But if we do decide on doing that second spin, I don't know if it's worth signing Dubois because we're going to get stuck, and that would result in us having to trade Aho or Svechnikov if Svechnikov jumps to a top-line guy. So keep that in mind. Your decision as to what happens with Backstrom directly affects whether or not we can sign Dubois if you guys say go for it because it's no longer the offseason. Defensively as well, what we do with those two holdovers, it really does depend on what we decide here. Big decisions coming up. Let me know as well, regardless of what we do with those moves we just talked about, let me know as well what you think our goal for the season should be, because we are going to be contenders yet again. So let me know, of course, down in the comments, if you see comments you agree with on the Backstrom debate, the Dubois debate, what player we should get off of who's on the trading block, and of course, our goal for the season. Let me know what you think. Thank you for joining me on this marathon. I knew it would be a little bit of a longer episode, but hey, that is what it is. I will see you guys in the next one. Until then, have a good one. And Season 3 with the Hurricanes is shaping up to be very interesting.